You're listening to The Heart of House, Episode 7. Heart of House is home to the entrepreneurial spirit.
As we sit down with our gathered experiences,
we also share stories and lessons of success and failure from some of the most extraordinary and outstanding people.
With educational segments on spirituality,
relationships,
money,
and much more,
we get to the core,
the root,
the heart of the matter,
to help you improve your overall health and well-being.
From practical matters to divine wisdom, we bring it to the table.
It's food for your soul. Let's eat. What's going on, everybody? It's your host, Kalani Picasso Benjamin in the house.
What's going on, y'all? It's Jake.
So yeah, today's episode is really a conversation that we just wanted to have between each other because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, and a lot of different emotions, a lot of different thoughts, things coming up. Oh my God, from coronavirus to money to what do we do now to 5D to moving into this new reality, and the world going to hell. Everybody's got their perspectives. Everybody's got their side. And again, I've said it a million times. I will continue to say it. Things are not always as they seem. Nothing is as it seems. And our attention is so focused on such a minute aspect of what's going on. Really is focused on 1% of reality. Yet 99% of what we're experiencing is unseen and we're not tuned in. So what a phenomenal opportunity right now that we have. We're being called to tune in. Tune in. You know the word atone? You ever heard atonement?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Atonement. If you break it down, at. One.
Yeah.
So how do we become one? We go in. Attune.
Yeah.
Attune. You're at tune. You're at harmony. Mm-hmm. You resonate. You're really connecting or reestablishing that frequency with the one. And that's what this opportunity is. The crown. I'm not even going to go into all the symbolism of corona and the crown and the virus. And we're going to have some people on here to, in shows a little bit down the line to kind of break down the metaphysical and astrological aspects of that. But right now we want to touch your heart. We want to get to the core of this thing and really speak on basic practical terms of what's going on.
The hump that's necessary, at least for myself, to get over at times is when we speak of atonement, to be at one with yourself. You got to turn all the distractions off. Like get past the fear, have the courage to sit by yourself in solitude. Because I think sometimes we don't want to do that.
Wow.
We want to turn off the TV, turn off the radio, or we think we won't have time to just sit and meditate, which, as you said, is listening.
Right.
And just listening to what the inside of you, your inner person, is saying.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge, fear, or whatever the reason may be, to not do that.
Right.
But it's necessary.
It is. Yeah. I mean, we're so externally oriented, and when we get quiet, there's a fear. We've been taught to be afraid of the dark. Yeah. We were taught fear anyway. That was instilled in us. I'm not saying taught in a sense that it was in all aspects consciously taught, but it was more of a programming. that we took on as infinite beings. We took on lovingly and unconditionally as children. And we moved from a child to an adult. So we became adulterated or tainted. So now is the time for cleansing, renewal. And I know that's been thrown around for years and years and years, but this is a very extraordinary time when you see something as big as this and it's global. Yeah. Pay attention. Just be aware and really take advantage of this. Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's get into some conversation about some of these things.
Just to be like, nigga, you ain't up on this.
Yep. That's it.
Yep.
Everybody want to be the first. Denzel was talking about that in an interview on the red carpet one time to one of the reporters.
Yeah.
And the danger in it is that you rushing to put out information because you want to be the first just because it's information.
Yeah.
Information is information, but that don't mean it's beneficial. You can cause some chaos.
Drastic to happen.
Yeah. And a lot of people become famous because of putting something out first. Famous so there's the negative way or the positive way. Either way is famous. So we can label it good or bad, but so here's the thing is like, let me think of somebody that acquired or became famous by some negative event or blew up because of a negative event.
The ice skater, the woman,
Tanya Harding.
Yeah.
I mean, she was famous before then, but that blew her up.
Yeah,
like it blew everybody up in that situation. And then we look at it as a negative situation, but what are the benefits of it? Because then it leads to this and that.
Right.
Like you got people all around calling for you, the interviews and then sponsorships and all these different things, negative press, bad press,
Yeah.
Is it good? Is it bad? That goes back to the good, bad thing.
I don't know, man. That's tough.
It is. And is it what you want?
Yeah. I guess that's like, the Tiger King. You heard of that?
Is that what everybody talking about now?
Yo, brother. Brother. That show is. I'm in a little bit of a conspiracy about things sometimes, and this show was a part of it. So we watched it. Long story short, we watched it, and it is like everything in every show you've ever watched in one.
Wow.
It's like polygamy, drugs, murder, drama, who's the baby daddy in one show.
Right. That sound like a typical reality show to me.
And like, but it's a documentary. So the people who die really die in the episode. Like you see somebody get their arm bit off by a tiger.
Wow.
It really happened.
Wow.
And I'm getting off the track a little bit. It's like as we watching it, I'm sitting there like, how we get to even be watching this?
Mm-hmm.
Like I at least I might be in an illusion. At least I feel like growing up. Right.
Yeah. Y'all didn't see that look I had on my face when he said might be an illusion.
You are.
Yeah.
At least growing up watching TV, it felt like some of these things weren't as accessible. Like if you wanted to watch a flick of two, man and woman getting it on, you had to go look for that.
Right.
You had to go find a VHS somebody might have left in the VCR.
Right.
Speaking from experience.
Black market.
You know what I'm saying?
Bruh on the corner.
Right. And this now there's no filter.
Nah, you ain't got to try.
You just hit the button and there it is. And it's like, I ain't even asked for this. Mm-hmm. But we gonna give it to you though. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That just brought up something when you saying I ain't even asked for this, but we're gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
Because I think about the time we moving into.
Yeah.
And how I think we talked about it earlier about the quantum jump and the quantum leap and moving at a rapid rate, even though time is irrelevant, but the vibration is speeding up. So I've said this before, and I want to have a conversation about this. Is that the internet and the technology now is a direct reflection of the universe and how it operates. Perfect example, through the law of attraction and law of vibration, all this stuff, how, whatever you focus on and whatever your vibration is, that's what you quote unquote attract to your life.
Yeah.
From a different perspective, I think is that it's not that you're attracting that into your life.
Yeah.
That which has been conceived is already there and present.
Yeah.
But when you get up to speed with that vibration, it appears. It's just like if I go in the room and turn the lights on, oh, boom, there it is.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So with that being said, this is how the universe operates is, okay, it's not going to go based on what you say out your mouth all the time.
Yeah.
Because what you say out your mouth might not be congruent with what's in what you feel in your heart. Right.
Yeah.
But it's going to go all based on what you feel. And so when it goes on based on what you feel,
yeah,
that's that emotion. It's the energy of emotion that makes it manifest or that brings the light to it.
Right.
So, with the internet, and like I said before, everything is a reflection, but the internet is so like real time. And if we can go into, they're monitoring what you say, speaking the ads and stuff to show up, but it's a mirror again.
Yeah.
Perfect example. Now we know that the phones are listening to conversations and the AI is actually recording every bit of data and starting to operate based on your sequence of events and how you respond to certain posts and et cetera. So in doing so, it learns your behaviors and patterns. And now that it learns your behaviors and patterns, it presents things in a way that are congruent with that.
Yeah.
So that perpetuates your behaviors and patterns and keeps you in that cycle until you snap out of it and decide to change. So when it comes to social media, now I've liked this post, I've liked that post, I've commented on this post, I've commented on that post.
Right.
And not just the fact that I liked and commented, but even the words that I use in those are relevant. Mm-hmm. So now it has learned, show more of this.
Yeah.
Give me more of that. That's how the universe operates. We say, and I use this example, but this is the easiest example I've seen is like, say a woman says, I always attract these dogs, men or dogs or whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, the vibration that is being sent out is that.
Right.
So that's what I'm attracting. If I'm saying all men are dogs, I'm focusing on all men being dogs.
Right.
And so all men that I experience are filtered through the perception of the dog.
Right.
So whatever aspect of this person, even though they may not even be a dog, quote unquote, is being filtered through that. So if I see anything that resembles that,
Right.
It's attached to that.
I had the evidence.
Right.
Yeah.
Going back to the internet. The internet does the same thing. Not just the internet, but specifically Facebook and Instagram, and shows us a reflection of what it is that we put out, the signal that we're sending out. It is literally, it operates in that space of the unseen.
Yeah.
So that's why it's able to not only feed back to us on that technological standpoint, but spirit operates in that realm as well.
Right.
So some of the things that we experience, spirit actually speaks through us, because there's some things even AI can't coordinate. Like the fact that I have a thought and grab my phone at that exact time, open something up, and just happen in that split second, even though it might be changing, see something that is related to that. Spirit inspires you to move in a certain way to receive this. And then you like, oh, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, I've also had the experience of having a thought, and when the ads pop up because you either said something or you sent something through a text or said something.
Yeah.
But I've had ads pop up and I ain't said one word, not even made a sound, and was like, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, part of me realizes that there's technology that exists that actually reads our thought waves and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's used in advertising and the sound waves. So then I'm like, is that going on? Then I have to go back. Well, what would be the benefit of me over here in this space, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then the other part is like, oh, this is divine synchronicity or whatever.
Yeah.
So, that's the internet. Getting caught up in that world is really going back to us focusing. It pulls us out of our being and puts all of our energy and focus on the product that we've created from the internal. Mm-hmm. Not knowing that we actually created the product, and then the product that we're creating, we're becoming slave to.
Yeah. It's
like the psychology of likes and shares on.
It's like when you say the product, it took me, I had an experience of like if you when you judge somebody, like you go, oh man, that person is a monster, or that person is this, or that person is that. A lot of times, or at least if you don't pay attention to yourself, you're gonna look up one day and you'll be the same thing that you were just trying not to be. Like, man, I said that about this person. I'm doing the same dang thing.
Right.
And
reflection.
But if you don't pay attention to it, I mean, you just think I don't know, I think you are better in a sense. Yeah, that was a self-reflective moment. I just had a self-reflective moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the psychology of likes and shares, and even the cell phones. What's the guy's name? Simon Sinek. He spoke on that, and he speaks on that all the time. It's like it's incredible. It's incredible in two ways. It can be destructive, but it also can have benefit, just like anything, really. Same thing with the whole. Everybody want to be first. Yeah. Everybody want to be up on this and up on that. Dang, what is that? What is the thing that's at the core of that? What? Like
attention,
why? Attention, validation. Saying, "Oh, look at me." Yeah. Which is nothing wrong. We all seek some type of validation or attention, but then the question is why?
Yeah.
So that, to me, brings up the idea that somewhere along the lines there was a lack of support, attention, love, nourishing, all of those things that are fundamental as we develop from that child.
Right.
And then we experience the traumas that, again, create the culture, or the culture that creates our experiences and our reality. And we start to embody those things. And that goes into even when we talk about the cells being affected genetically and the genes being affected by the culture, that's a direct result, or the health of physical health is a direct result of that as well. Because again, the thoughts that we think and the beliefs that we hold create or shape and influence the matter. So you got people talking about, oh, this is genetic and my father or mother or the family, all, whatever disease goes through the family. And that's not necessarily the case. That doesn't mean you're sentenced to that.
Right.
And I keep going back to religion because these things are hitting points in my mind that I remember. I've never been like one to study the Bible and being super religious, but those points that always been a question in my mind come up, and it goes back to the sins of the father
fall on the son.
Yeah. That's a program.
Yeah.
That's saying you're destined to somebody else's stuff.
Right.
But unconsciously, when we receive that program, we're acknowledging that we're a victim, and we're saying that we're a victim.
Oh.
On the other side of that, if we look at it through different lenses, saying the sins of the father fall on the son, it could be from the perspective of something else after that.
Yeah.
The sins on the father fall on the son if you so believe, kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like the aha moment I had when I read the book The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. Phenomenal book. And I think 2 years prior to actually getting the book, somebody presented it to me. I was like, oh yeah. And kind of had an idea of what the book would be about. And then 2 years later, one day somebody presented the book and I was like, I'm getting that.
Yeah.
Because they presented it and I've been seeing some stuff happening. I was like, I'm getting that, the magic. And when I got the book, I was like, oh, not because of the information, but because it was actual practical application. Do this, this, and this. And, it wasn't, I'm reading somebody's information. It was a gratitude practice, a daily gratitude practice. I was like, oh, and I got excited. I knew it was on time because I felt the excitement when I would read it, like, cause you don't like read it from front to back. You read a chapter this day and then prepare for the next day. So I was like, oh man, I can't wait to do my gratitude practice.
Yeah.
That's the magic in itself.
Yeah.
So one of the things in there, in one of the chapters, it brought up the scripture, and we talked about this before of, what is it? Whatever a man has,
to him more will be given. That.
Yeah. How does it go? So whatsoever a man has,
to him more will be given,
and whatever he has not
will be taken.
Even what he has will be taken. Yeah.
Something to that nature.
So if you're reading that, and this is how we've all been taught to read and understand, is based on what somebody says. From my perspective, that was always confusing, like that, or not even confusing.
Yeah.
It was like, that's effed up.
Scary.
Dang.
Yeah.
What? It's like the perspective of the rich get richer and the poor get poorer.
Yeah.
But the perspective is from, unfair, that's a negative aspect. Here's what shifted my perception about that. So that's when healing occurs, when you shift someone's perception. In that whole scripture, you know what? Paul, I'm gonna get the book. Count your blessings.
Yeah. Yo, that's deep. Cause that'll change your perception real quick if you start
What's deep?
Counting your blessings.
Count your blessings, yeah.
Like when I start complaining about something, take that step back. Like, well, you know what? I'm fortunate to have this, that, and third. And it really ain't as bad as I'm complaining about.
Right. And that's another thing about the magic is that when you count your blessings, you're actually tallying up all the things that are beneficial versus what we normally do.
Yeah.
We always focus on the one thing that's effed up.
Yep.
The one thing that's effed up.
Yep.
Like, yo, what in the world?
Yeah. The 1%.
So yeah, here's what she said in the book. Well, here's what the actual scripture is. I went and got the book because I wanted to be accurate with it. Whoever has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken away. And there's many different translations, but that particular translation, that's the whole gist of it. So the one thing that she put in there that shifted my whole perspective, that created the healing, was added the word gratitude.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it seems like the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. And it's like, dang, it's always coming from this perspective of that's kind of messed up, the victim, and, not fair, whatever. But added gratitude. So it goes like this. Whoever has gratitude will be given more.
Yeah.
And he who or she will have an abundance. Whoever does not have gratitude, even what he or she has, will be taken away from him or her.
Yeah.
That right there, just those little words. So when I read that and it shifted, I'm like, look at the whole of religion, and we talking about in the Bible right now.
Right.
And how so many people, religiously, they read the Bible and take all of that. Like, this is God's word, and this is what it said. And even if you say, oh, this is a man's interpretation. Oh, it was inspired by God. The creation, everything is inspired by God. God is all and all is God. So everything is inspired by God. So, some things can be the devil. If God is all, then
where the devil coming from?
Right. So that's a different story. But going back to the book itself, historically, and this is not even a debate. There are, I don't even remember how many. There's so many books left out of the text that was given to the slaves.
Oh yeah.
And I say the slaves, but to everybody that the Bible that is being read now, the King James Version and whatnot.
Yeah.
So then the question comes to mind is, first of all, at the Council of Nicaea, and when the Romans adopted Christianity and made it their own,
you going somewhere?
Hey, what was the intention? Not only what was the intention, but why leave those books out? See, if you want to enslave a people, you withhold the information. And if you don't have all the information, you don't make informed decisions.
Nope.
And especially if it's information that is the information
you need,
that is contained within you, that was going back to the Professor X and the Black Phoenix. We put the veil or the psychic blocks on her just so she couldn't even understand her true power.
Right.
So if that has been installed, like, we go in there and say, this is what this is, and that is quote unquote the gospel. But that little thing in that one scripture, just understanding that part, shifted something different. And I just like, when I observe people so galvanized and hung on that thing, like, what if that's taken away? What if all of that you've learned is just shot down? Like you one day wake up to something different and it's different. If you put all of your eggs in one basket, and that's the foundation of everything, and that foundation crumbles, what happens to your life? Are you prepared to change or to shift? And I'm saying that because of how much faith we put in the book called the Bible and the words written in it. And even though there is wisdom in there, we look at one perspective that we've been taught, and even reading a certain sentence or paragraph, we see it one way, and then and never go from that, because we made the conclusion as that is it, and there's no other way. And I know people that were like, you can't tell me otherwise.
Yeah.
But one little shift in a word, like even not the word. I know Brother Ray Hagins would go in and read certain scriptures.
Yeah.
But he break it down like, y'all didn't hear me. Yeah.
Right.
Because you can sense the energy of like when nobody goes, oh, like when nobody has that.
Yeah.
It's like y'all still reading it from this way.
Yeah, open your mind.
Mm-hmm. And I think he was talking about, when I'm saying that, he was talking about when Jesus was speaking to his disciples, and the perspective that as the reader, we're reading it as he's talking to us.
Yeah.
We're not reading it as we're in that moment.
Yeah.
When he said, many will come and say that I am the Christ. And what did he say? Oh,
I do recall listening to that.
What did he say? Many will come.
So what you talking about?
Saying that I am the Christ.
Yeah.
Be not deceived, or something like that.
Right.
And when he said that, he was like, y'all didn't hear me. And even now, most of you all are hearing it the way you've understood it from the past.
Yeah.
But let me say it a little bit differently. Many will come saying that I am the Christ.
Yeah.
Me, Jesus, I am the Christ.
Yeah. Be not deceived.
Right. So he's talking to his disciples who know who he is.
Yeah.
So why would he be saying that to them if, like, oh, they're going to come claiming to be me? No, they're not coming claiming to be me.
Yeah.
They're coming saying that I am who I am.
Yeah.
See that? Ooh, man, that's big.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to sit with that.
Yo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what that little scripture.
Yeah, you can catch that episode on YouTube too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for anybody that wants to go and listen to, because I'm just giving you like one little tiny minute part of that. But Pastor Ray Hagins, go look him up. I think the title of it, I don't remember the title of it, is something like Jesus is not coming or something. I don't know. I forgot the title, but just look up Pastor Ray Hagins and the what's it? It's not coming, and the rapture. Something about the rapture too.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of videos.
Yeah, he got a bunch of videos. So it might take a while to try to find it. But if you're so inspired, I'm not saying this to try to change anybody's religion or anything. All I'm doing is offering a different perspective so we can constantly grow and expand. That's it. Yeah. Because nothing that you're doing is right or wrong. And my job is to offer a different perspective, especially when I have my own ahas and it changes my whole view. Then here's the thing. Nobody is above it or below anything, because I started studying all this coming out of high school, but none of that stuff gave me the ahas that one little phrase, like in this gratitude, shifted.
Yeah.
Right? Because all of the other stuff was just knowledge, whether it's knowledge of something being hidden from you or the other side. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, man, that's big.
Yeah. There's a lot to be understood. Just speaking from my own experience, like I've probably spent countless evenings and nights reading from the first page to the last page of the Bible, just like, I'm going to soak this in. I got it. I'm going to get it. And a part of, even though while doing that, it only generated more questions.
Right. Which is not a bad thing at all.
Like, okay, I got this book. Then it started to be, well, who wrote this? Who wrote Genesis? Who wrote Exodus? Who wrote Kings?
Right.
Who wrote Leviticus? Who wrote these books? What books are missing? Hey, Jake, you ever heard about the lost books of the Bible?
Oh.
What? Ain't no lost books of the Bible. This thing got everything in it.
Right.
No, there's some books missing.
Yeah.
And you go research. A group of people decided on which books not to put in there.
Right.
Well, why did they decide which books not to put in there? What is the Council of Nicaea? What happened at the Council of Nicaea? There was more than one meeting at the Council of Nicaea?
Whoa.
Who is it in that picture? That Leonardo painted.
Right.
That's not Jesus though. That's
right.
The Pope's, well, from research, and that's one of the Pope's relatives.
Right.
So
and why is that relative?
Why is that relative? So we're not supposed to worship a false image, but ain't that a false image?
Woo.
So it's like you just start to question things.
And you told not to question.
And then it's like, well, then what? Well, I think for me, it's like returning to, what was the ancient ways of connecting with God.
Right.
Before we got to where we are now.
Right.
It's not to say that the Bible is not beneficial to a person, or any religion is not beneficial to a person. I just think or feel that the hangups come when you limit yourself. Like if it's limiting you from, I don't know, chasing a dream or a passion or being or being what you feel you ought to be, then I think you got to question some things.
Right.
Like you watch, who was it? I don't know, famous singer that made a movie that they didn't sing gospel music, so their voice wasn't being used in a godly manner because they wasn't singing gospel music.
Right.
But, I mean, it's like God didn't create nothing evil though. So if you sing it, you sing it.
Oh, that's.
I mean, you got a choice.
Yeah.
Of what you want to do with what you was given.
Right.
I think that's it.
So if God didn't create anything evil, then where did evil come from?
I think that comes from only because I feel that things have opposites. So that if there's something good, then there's the opposite of that. Like if there's love, then one can show hate. Mm-hmm. Where does that come from? Just the ability to be able to choose.
Right.
And we just labeled the term with evil.
Right. So I'm glad you said that, because the opposites, I mean, that goes back into the duality consciousness, right?
Yeah.
And we label the opposite because we've split our energy again, and the things that we experience that we feel a negative emotion or something too is how we label that and say it's the bad thing. I don't like that. And this is the good thing.
Yeah.
Well, what about the person that goes into below freezing water and feels invigorated? And they really do. How is that painful or bad if they're experiencing bliss and joy when somebody like myself loves the heat and the sun?
Right.
You know, that goes into back in 2017 when I decided to change my relationship with the cold, because I saw myself like always saying, I hate the cold. I hate the cold. But that's equivalent to what we do unconsciously is we deny part of ourselves. We deny the hidden part or the quote unquote dark part or the evil part or the sinful part as bad, and the part that can be tempted, the flesh, but it's all divine.
Right.
And the mere fact that we've split our energy into this conflict makes us live a life of conflict instead of embracing the whole. So I often talk about in most every superhero movie or especially Star Wars, they portray the good and the evil. And in Star Wars, it's always been like Darth Vader is the dark side, evil, and Luke Skywalker, good, fighting for good, fighting for the Jedi. Well, the ironic thing is, in order to embrace the fullness of the power, what we see in the Star Wars is that, okay, the dark side is evil, and that's the path to, fear and anger and all that stuff leads to the dark side. But in order to be whole, to be all of who you are,
you got to embrace both.
You got to embrace both. How can you deny part of yourself?
Yeah.
So what really happens is, because we deny part of ourselves, that part that we deny is screaming for our attention.
Yeah.
And the more we deny it, the more it screams for our attention. So that creates the conflict. And that's why we experience what we experience.
Yeah.
So now, and then we label it as the dark side. I heard a woman express it in a way like, say you had children.
Yeah.
And you had, you named one child,
Stanley.
What?
Stanley?
No. Yeah. What? So you named one child Love.
Yeah.
And then another one, Joy or whatever.
Yeah.
Then you named a child over here, Anger or whatever.
Yeah.
So you like to play with and give attention to and all this to Love and Joy as much as you possibly can. But when anger comes along, you kind of brush anger off, and the thing is, the more you do that, the more anger starts to lash out and feel that isolation, feel that energy of neglect and not included. So anger starts to be a little bit more vocal and a little more rebellious. And as anger becomes more vocal and more rebellious, it creates and triggers something in you that wants to conflict and battle with that. You see, I raised you better than that. Why are you doing this? Why are you treating me like that? Why are you blah, 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 blah? But the whole time when anger was calling out, you were neglecting anger, but you were showing Love and Joy a lot of attention. You were giving them a lot of nourishment. So now anger has grown up. Anger has gotten more powerful and resentful. And now even your relationship with Love and Joy is compromised because you're not in your full capacity because you're being triggered by the anger.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time, all anger wanted was some love and attention. The same love and attention you gave to joy and love, right? So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's really what it is the wholeness of our being is just what it is. We're not separate. And when you embody that, now you come into full power. You have embraced all of you.
Yeah, that's deep.
Say, because that's the ultimate thing we all want.
Yeah. But
when you start to label and make conclusions and stuff like that, then it creates that reality that we're running from. Mm-hmm. So back to the Star Wars thing is that Anakin Skywalker, he felt in his, he felt the calling, like, why am I being held from my power? The Jedi said, no, that's the path to the dark side, blah, blah, blah. You mind your feelings, Anakin, if you succumb, use the word succumb to your feelings, you will be lured into the dark side. Well, the funny thing is when Anakin finally said, man, F that, I'm going to explore this thing that is part of me. He became more powerful. He became his fullness, his power. Now, of course, in the movie, they distorted a little bit because of you have to keep the conflict of, good and evil. But the whole thing was really about that. It's about his power and him coming into his fullness. And when I overlay that into most of all of these protagonists, antagonists, and all that kind of stuff, it's the same situation where there's somebody, the good guy, quote unquote, there's some kind of battle or conflict within him, and then he fights that off within himself and becomes the hero. But what does that embed in our subconscious about our own self? Oh, that we have to fight off or resist the urge to go into the dark place. The funny thing about that is all of creation comes from the dark.
Yeah. As you say that, I think about violence in the matter of police, right? If a thief or a robber or a murderer, strikes down a person and kills them, the police officer does the same thing in the name of justice. But there's there's 3 people dead now.
Right. Oh.
But I mean, and I'm not saying we don't need police officers. I'm just saying that
right.
The condition of there was a result in the loss of life in both situations. Mm-hmm. It's just that we justify one by being good and a retaliation of vengeance, but it's still a loss of life.
Exactly.
And depending on what side of the line you're standing on, one might be good, one might be evil, or they both might be bad.
Right.
So it's like it really just per person on how you want to look at things.
Exactly. It goes back to your perceptions and your perspective.
Yeah.
All of that is judgment. And we judge based on our perceptions. We judge something based on how we perceive it to be. And we hold that as true. And that is our reality.
Yeah.
Truth is nothing more than truth is subjective, actually.
Yeah.
And I even heard Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about objective truth and subjective truth. Truth, period, is subjective.
Yeah.
How can you have objective truth and subjective truth? Objective truth meaning that truth is truth. Like saying the sun always rises or whatever. How do you know? You know what I'm saying? The information that we have about the sun is all based on our collective perceptions of what we understand, which is absolutely limited, especially in this duality consciousness.
Yeah.
when we're talking about the existence of life in multiple universes and realities. So if in the same breath, if you can say something about the existence of simultaneous realities and, parallel universes, what is truth? Truth changes. Everything changes.
Yeah.
It's true that I like dark chocolate.
Tomorrow you may not.
It might not be true tomorrow. I mean,
Right.
So,
Right.
so what is truth?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then somebody say, well,
It depends.
it's true. It's true. You're going to die. How you know? That's not now. What is death? What is, you know what I mean? What is death? I'm not saying that I won't go somewhere else and transition. I'm just saying, open your mind to something different than what you've always been taught and what you think you know.
Yeah.
Because I'm always going to question something. I mean, you already know.
Yeah.
As soon as somebody say something, I'm like, oh yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it I'm just saying it. I'm questioning, because what I'm doing is stimulating my own ability to wander and be open to something different. So when you're in that space, then going back to that foundation, that is your foundation. Your foundation is not something that you consider to be tangible outside of yourself. Your foundation is you. So you exist in the eye of the storm, in the midst of chaos, and you don't crumble.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drop the mic. You can drop the mic on that shit.
Let me drop the mic.
That was, that summed it up.
Yeah, man.
Yo. Yeah.
So, well.
Yeah. Content.
Yeah. Content. All hearts and minds are clear.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful place to be.
Bruh. Like that, that's like the good segue for another, for the start of an episode.
Okay.
Like that last punchline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a beautiful day. And as always, we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Peace and love. Hey, what's going on, family? I know you're out there. If you found this episode helpful in any way, head on over to iTunes and rate us. Leave a comment, like, share. And if you know someone that would benefit from the content in this episode, feel free to share it with your friends. It's our mission to consistently bring you content that will help you improve your overall health and well-being. And don't forget to subscribe so you'll be notified as soon as a new episode comes out. We look forward to hearing from you soon.